never sniffed around an HBCU, right? And here goes the problem with that. You guys are sending out misinformation. I can't tell you how many times I see like random posts or random articles and things like that centered around a HBCU, and then you will see a mother come in there and say, "Oh, man, I've never sent my child to an HBCU," or this is what's going on there, and it's centered around you guys fake comments and things that are just completely wrong. We had a clip that went pretty, I guess you could say viral or whatever your thinking is of that is still rising. We're at about 65K now on IG. Alrighty, and we have more on YouTube and Facebook. And on that clip, actually, just on IG alone, we have about 850 comments there, and tons of people hit me up in my inbox, and you know how that goes. They want to take the conversation offline and things like that. But a lot of the comments, during that HBCU rant, while I was talking about Willie Simmons leaving FAMU to go to Duke to be the running backs coach. And a lot of those comments centered around like, hey, I don't know what I'm talking about. He deserves every right to go, to Duke, and cussing me out and all that good stuff. And some were having legitimate conversations. I appreciate you guys for having that, and things like that. But even more than that, the majority of the comments came from just ridiculous statements about HBCUs, about how HBCUs don't have they mismanage their funds and they're not paying folks and they just won't pay and they don't have money because they're messing the money up and they're not doing this and they're not doing that, and that's why their HBCUs are where they're at. I'm talking about at least over 500 of those comments are centered around that, and I can guarantee you that more than half of those folks never sniffed around an HBCU, right? And here goes the problem with that. You guys are sending out misinformation. I can't tell you how many times I see like random posts or random articles and things like that centered around a HBCU, and then you will see a mother come in there and say, "Oh, man, I've never sent my child to an HBCU," or this is what's going on there, and it's centered around you guys fake comments and things that are just completely wrong. I told this one guy about a week ago, and then I ended up doing some information to get the numbers right. But here goes the thing. So lack of state funding is a real thing, all right? And I have it here. A lot of HBCUs are under a current lawsuit, right? Where they are suing and getting their money. For example, Tennessee State here is under a current lawsuit from the state because they are just under the lack of funding that they are receiving from the state, and it's so vastly different from the University of Tennessee volunteers and going on. So just to give you a number here, all right, the from basically from 1990 to 2020, only two states, Ohio and Delaware, were found to have, equitable funding for the HBCUs. The other states and institutions had funding gaps between $172 million to $2.14 billion fucking dollars. Okay, do you know what a school can do with $2.4 billion that the state is withholding from them? Okay, and it only takes 5 seconds to Google, man. That's all it takes. Now, I want you to listen to this. 2.4, all right, billion dollars. Okay. Now, that's from each school to each school. Overall, it's over $13 billion. Over $13 billion over 3 decades is the lack of state funding that the states are giving to the HBCUs. They robbed them. Just took the money and put it elsewhere. Gave more to the PWIs in the states, or just pocketed it. I don't know. All right, and now they're fighting to get it back. But that's the thing. It's not that they're mismanaging that. It's not that they're mismanaging the money. They're not getting the money to begin with. all right? And you fucking idiots, all right? And you nitwicks, I would call you Uncle Toms, but you're not even as educated as Uncle Tom. I don't know what, you guys are worse than Uncle Tom because you don't even take a couple of seconds to Google, like, why do HBCUs have the lack of facilities and things like that. Like Tennessee State is going to be the first HBCU to actually win this lawsuit, and they over whatever $500 million they're going to be awarded, and they're still fighting for more because it's close to $1 billion there. All right. You know what's going to happen with Eddie George there in their football facilities? Because he was a part of that fight. He engineered that fight there. Like, their football facilities are going to go through the roof. They're going to have the best football facilities in HBCU, like, because they're the first one to get this, going to be the first one to get it back, right? The whatever you want to say, state-of-the-art facilities, the field, a new field, all of this stuff. But these are things that HBCUs had in the beginning. Now, think to yourself, okay? Do you think this happened on accident? Do you think that the states said, okay, oh shit, we forgot about Tennessee State. I'm sorry, I forgot you guys were even right there. We haven't been sending y'all, y'all your correct funding there for the last 30 years, even though you guys have been talking about it here. We apologize, we forgot. Do you think that's the case? Or do you think there may be some racial, tactics behind that? What do you think? Okay, I'm gonna ask you that. Georgia is the next state that's going to be going through that. This graph here, it shows you Tennessee is the biggest gap. Okay, here, and then you have North Carolina. What is that, right? And then you have Florida and Texas there, and they're showing you just the gap between the PWIs in that state and the HBCUs in that state, and the state funding that they're receiving. Okay, or lack thereof.
Are the majority of HBCUs state schools in the different states?
I would say majority, but not all, right? I know off the top of my head, Howard and Bethune are privately owned.
Okay.
That's off the top of my head. I'm sure there's a couple of more. I'm not sure about Hampton.
Okay.
Right? But those are the two I know off the top of my head that are private. But majority, like FAMU, I would say majority are state funded.
And then when we're talking about the state funding, is there supposed to be some sort of formula for the allocation of state funds among the schools in the state university system?
Yes.
And because I would just say this, like, not every school's the same size. I think UCF here has the biggest enrollment.
This article explains that. This article explains the size of the school and what they're supposed to be receiving versus, you know what I mean? Yeah. So this article really breaks it down. Does a great job of it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so now at Tennessee State, you're that one seems to be at a point where resolution is close at hand. Yes. Are like pretty much most of the other state funded HBCUs filing suits in their respective states?
They're going to get They're going to. Tennessee State kind of opened the window to it, and so now all others are filing in line there.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's just the one, like, huge gap there, or big thing there that you can just tap and put your finger on there. But there are so many other problems and things that are just out of HBCU's controls as to the reason why things are the way they are. A strong fucking argument can be made that they set out to cripple HBCUs from the very beginning. You know what I mean?
Well, if you look at like the underfunding, as it were, and then you look at the narrative that you spoke about, where it creates this situation where there's basically a distrust of the institution and their management of funds that is outside of the notion that they're not getting the funds they should get, and that somehow they're misappropriating the funds. That creates a narrative that is consistent with tearing down Black people, with tearing down Black people's ability to organize and build and lead, and which is a traditional method of attacking and perpetuating race. in that way, and that you're, like that's one of the things you do. Look, they can't do this, they can't do that. But if you're underfunding them, you're basically fueling that narrative, but you're allowing the finger to be pointed at something else. This notion of white supremacy and inherent dysfunction with black people and black institutions, and that's basically what you're allowing to fester.
Exactly.
And then when we have these debates and you have people commenting and saying these things, it perpetuates that narrative, and people are turned off potentially of attending these universities. They're turned off even like investing and donating in these institutions, because there's a narrative that, you could donate $1 million to Bethune or FAMU, but that'll be misappropriated, and probably the whatever, the president of the university is just going to put a new addition on his house or something, and that's the way it's going to go. So that it creates like a chilling effect. It creates distrust, and I think historically, it fits the playbook of racism, because it diminishes the apparent ability of people to function, operate, and organize. It allows a narrative of negativity to surround them, and again, it makes perfect sense that that's something that would continue to happen for a reason, deliberately.
Exactly. And I wanted to do that there, and we'll move along from that. But I just wish that wasn't the case, especially for just, the random black person who also pushes that narrative and like I said, never even sniffed around an HBCU. Because, if you're not even going to take the time to do a quick 10-second research as to why, then why even have a negative comment when you don't even know why things are the way they are? There was this guy who commented, right, about Bethune, and he was saying how, I'm out here, I'm over here in Texas, but I saw a video and read about how you guys were, the players were sharing helmets and Ed Reed the thing, and I said, and Ed Reed office was dirty. You guys you're not taking care of your players and your coaches. Who's going to come there, and that's why he left, and this and that. And I'm saying, man, listen, man. I said, do you even know that we had 2 back-to-back storms, as I was telling Just Black here? Did you even know that? Did you know that they took the players out, put them in a hotel, but even before that, they asked the players if they wanted even to continue the season. Even Dion said, hey, if that was us, man, we probably would have shut the season down. How bad those guys got hit, and how bad, because when you already don't have a lot of funds lying around, it's not like the football program just has whatever $1 million in the back pocket, panic reason or for emergency reason there. It's not like you can just go there, right? But what they were able to do was get those guys out and put them in hotels and things like that, and those players voted to continue the season. But hell, the Storm messed up the entire where they keep all the equipment and things like that. And Marquise was saying the same thing. He's arguing with me for days. But they're sharing helmets. Yeah, but I mean, what shit? You go out and fix the fucking helmets that got tore up in the storm. That's what happened. Because when I was at Bethune and we were kicking ass all over the place, we had 10 uniforms. We had fucking 1,000 billion helmets. There was never any problems. We were winning, earning more money, because with more success comes more money. We had the highest paid coach in the fucking MEAC. All of that stuff. Like there was no issues, but we also didn't have any major storms while I was there. You know what I mean? But whatever. Let's move past this. I think I'm done.